Hi guys and welcome back to another video. If you've not watched any of my previous videos, my name is Josh and literally a month ago I quit my 9 to 5 job working as an accountant, start my own social media marketing agency. Now we've got a totally different style of video today. It's actually a podcast style episode with Tommy Smith, who's from the US, who's also doing the similar business model, but he's a lot further into his journey than me and he's doing 25k a month in profit, which is absolutely crazy. We're going to be going really in depth into the business model and sort of picking his brains on all these different aspects of it, going from sort of automated outreach to how he signs his client and then actually how he structures his deals. So I'm going to find so much value in this call myself, but I hope it provides you with some value if you're thinking about doing this business model. As I say for you, I'm going to link all his links in the description, so if you could drop him a follow, and also I'll link all my own, so if you want to drop me a message on Instagram or anything like that, feel free. Also, if you could just subscribe to the channel, that'd be really appreciated. But we're going to jump across the laptop now and get on a call with him. Right, we're live. So Tommy, thank you for coming on. Just to start with, can you just talk a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do basically? Because, you know, we briefly chatted yesterday and just from that 30-minute conversation, I got so much value out of it. And I presume, you know, anyone watching this is going to learn so much from you and your journey. So if you just talk a little bit about who you are to start with and what you do.
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me. This is my first official podcast. Feels good. But my name's Tommy Smith, and I own a social media marketing agency. I've been in this space for about 5 years or so, but I've really only been taking it serious for about 2. Found a little bit of success, and I'm just trying to build my personal brand as of now.
Yeah, no, that's great. As we spoke yesterday, like, you know, I'm just at the start of this journey and you're sort of 2 or 3 years, well, you know, properly into this. And I guess the numbers and the level your business is at is totally different to mine. And I hope anyone listening to this as well, but also me, is going to learn so much from this conversation. I'm going to try and go quite in depth about certain different topics that I guess, I've not really heard talked about on a lot of podcasts, so hopefully it's going to provide a lot of value. So if we just go, you know, to start with a bit further back, take a bit of context into who you are. Obviously, you're from the US, LA, isn't it?
Yes.
So just a bit of context into you growing up. So you're 25, so I'm sort of 22. So a bit of context into sort of your early years and sort of how you've progressed to sort of this stage.
Yeah. So I grew up in California, I guess, and excuse me, my dad, he was an entrepreneur himself. He owned a few restaurants, so the entrepreneurial mindset was always instilled into me. I just didn't really know what to do with it, and excuse me, in high school, and even middle school too, I was always trying to sell something, trying to make some money. I was starting up eBay businesses, using Craigslist, if you know what that is, to sell locally. And I just always wanted to have nice things, I guess. But eventually I went into high school. I started learning about drop shipping a little bit. Had pretty much zero success with that. I mean, every business that I ever started failed like pretty bad. Once I got to college, I was in college for English, and then I switched my major to nursing because my mom, she's Filipino, and it's like standard culture to become a nurse if you're Filipino. So I figured out that wasn't for me really fast. And I ended up going into an entrepreneur like certificate program, essentially. And even from there, I realized that wasn't even for me because I didn't really learn too much from those classes. And that's when I made the decision with my friend, who was actually one of my first media buyers, to start going all in with trying to make money online. At first we were making like sports fan pages, trying to promote NBA stuff, and other topics like that. And just trying to use that to build some traffic to bring it to, certain different drop shipping stores and stuff like that. But at the time we had no experience or real knowledge on how to run a successful campaign. That was college. Dropped out of college, found SMMA eventually. It was actually like a YouTube ad that I saw from Ty Lopez. I bought his course, learned the basics from it really, but I never really had too much success until before COVID hit. I was doing a lot of like social media management. I was running accounts for restaurants and, trying to really promote, like happy hour and stuff like that, with their Instagram, with their social media, and also trying to optimize websites at the time because a lot of the sites weren't really optimized for mobile devices. So that was like my core offer at the time. Um, Never really made too much money. I was serving tables and then trying to also work for whoever I was working with or anybody else within their network, to see if I could, make a website or run their social media. Um, really didn't have much success with that because, restaurants have very tight budgets. Um, so every restaurant, even the owner of the restaurant that I was working at, they really didn't want to pay me anything. They didn't want to even hire me. They didn't see any value in social media marketing at all at the time. I think this was like 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. Um, but yeah, eventually I figured out a little bit more about how to construct my offer and how to sell higher ticket offers, kind of like, using paid ads rather than social media management and stuff like that. And I switched over to only working with e-commerce brands, which obviously gave me location freedom, but a little bit more financial freedom. And yeah, took a few courses, had
Yeah.
a really good mentor, and yeah, took it from there, bro.
That is really, really impressive. And as I said, I'm from that starting position where probably where you were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
First sort of months in, I'm winning them clients. I'm having some level of success, but I think it's with this conversation, I want to sort of go deep into how we can sort of how well me personally, but anyone watching can sort of start to win them bigger clients, start to sort of scale it to where you're at now. And just to give people a bit of context, sort of, I know obviously every sort of podcast does this, but what sort of numbers are you doing now? And if you sort of go back to, I guess, the numbers that you were doing, I guess, fairly early on, and then so year one, year two, and
Yeah.
sort of what sort of numbers are you doing per month now?
So I guess I'll start with when I started. I was doing social media management, like I said, and I was maybe making like $300 per restaurant. So I think at the best I ever did back in 2016 was maybe I was making $900 a month. Um, I eventually started, doing paid ads about 2 to 3 years ago for e-commerce brands. Um, I landed my first client at the start of the pandemic. Um, and I went from 1,000 to 5,000, and now I'm at $25,000 a month. Um, and yeah, that's where I'm at.
That is, and just to get that clear, that's 25,000 a month profit, isn't it?
Profit.
That
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
which is just, to me that's crazy. I guess it is a slow process of building it up. Like, probably a month ago where I'm at now would seem like, 6 clients in would seem pretty crazy, but it's just a
Yeah.
slow process of, I guess, building them skills up over, well, you've been doing it years, this business model. So, but I mean, I wanted to get that in because I know everyone sort of likes to talk about numbers, and
Yeah.
it's not in a bragging way, but I think it just shows the potential of this. And there's people probably doing 5 times what you're doing now, but
Right.
it just gives people a bit of context to, I guess, the scale this can get to. And
Mm.
I guess your lifestyle is probably totally, well, just the freedom you've got now has probably totally changed from, that couple of years in. And then
Right.
just to go back to, I guess the early years. So were your family quite wealthy, or was it a sort of was there some sort of level of, I guess, financial struggle which has motivated you, or was it seeing your dad succeed? What was sort of the key?
Really, it was a real combination of everything. Really, I mean, growing up, we didn't really struggle too much because my dad had a pretty successful catering business and a restaurant or two, and so from the young ages, I kind of saw a little bit of wealth, I would say, or maybe just like decent middle class. I wouldn't say we're wealthy or anything. We didn't live in a great neighborhood, but I didn't really have to worry too much. I had nice clothes. I was taken care of. Um, and my parents were putting me into good schools and stuff like that. But in 2006, my little brother got diagnosed with leukemia. Um, and that took a really big financial toll on our family. So it's kind of crazy because we went from, pretty much having whatever we wanted on a middle class scale to now being on, food stamps or, federal help, whatever you want to call it. And we had to really budget because my little brother had cancer. And on top of that, in 2018, with the whole, the market crash and everything that was going on, and the recession, my dad's business started to fail too. And on top of that, my dad bought a house at the wrong time, right before the economy crashed. So within a matter of like 3 years, I went from very comfortable to like not comfortable at all, and really being stressed out about a lot of things. And so I think it really helped me to see both sides of it, and to also see something I always tell people is like, dude, even if you have 100K, like people always say, like, once you get 10K, you're set, you have financial freedom. Anything above that, 20K financial freedom. I think that's completely wrong, because, I got to experience it firsthand. But even if you're making six figures, all it takes is, God forbid, one of your loved ones to get sick, for you to get sued, something very bad to happen, whatever it may be, that could take you from comfortable to not comfortable just like that. And I saw that with my little brother's diagnosis and the divorce and everything like that. So
I guess there's two things really there as well. It's not just, I guess, the financial impact, but I guess just that highlighted how short life is. And I guess probably your appetite for risk now is, I'd say I'm the same. Like, a lot of people wouldn't leave the 9 to 5 job. They get stuck in that, even if they don't enjoy it, because they're too scared of, I guess, the potential risk. But I see it as in, like, what is the risk really? The job's always going to be there eventually. Like, I think that at this stage in life, like, you've got to take them risks. And I guess as you said, that highlighted two things really: the financial, aspect of wanting to be financially free, but also just, life is short, and you've got to be pursuing, I guess, what you're passionate about and what you enjoy on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and life goes to shit very fast too. It just takes a few events, so you have to be prepared, and you have to be understanding of the fact that you might have it now, but it only takes a few months for it to all go downhill. So you have to prepare yourself, and that's really what made me very ambitious as a kid. But yeah, bro.
Yeah, it is for me as well. It's all about the journey. Like, money to me, you need money to survive, and I want to get to that stage of financially freedom and all that sort of stuff. But to me, it's just the daily freedom and autonomy you don't have, I guess, with a job, and just every day to be, really happiness is just, I guess, enjoying every moment of time, and just along that journey, trying to just be as happy as possible every single day, which I think is way more important than, I guess, the financial thing. But if that comes hand in hand, then perfect.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And then if we just now sort of take a sort of a bit of a turn, and now we start looking at, I guess, the business model, and this is hopefully the part that's going to, I guess, provide the most value to people, like going very in depth into your business model. So as you said, you were at a similar stage to me, so you're doing a mix of social media management, I guess, as you said, website optimization, and then I guess you sort of took that move into paid advertisement, which is sort of where I'm at. I'm sort of doing a bit of paid advertisement, but I wanted to divert a lot of my business into that. So if you talk people through sort of where were you learning this to start with, and you said you have a media buyer, can you explain a little bit about what this is and what they do for your business?
Yeah, so I guess I'll answer the first question. Or I'll talk about the media buyer first. So
yeah, sorry, I should have just kept them separate questions, but
no,
too eager to learn.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just remind me what the first question is, because I'll probably
so if you sort of talk about, so you just got that started, so social media management, I presume a lot of people, I guess, know what that is. So you're managing businesses accounts, creating content, all that side of things. So you managed to win a few local clients, restaurants, as you said, local businesses. And then how did that turn, sort of, what made you turn into sort of, I guess now you're targeting more e-commerce stores doing paid advertisement? What sort of took that turn, and how did you learn how to do that skill?
Well, I think it was kind of just a failure of my social media management, agency at the time, and how I was doing things, and all the rejection I was getting from local business owners. It really kind of pushed me away from even trying to do, my agency. And I say I've been in the space for 5 years, but there was a good year and a half, maybe even 2 years, where I kind of I had an agency, and I was like proactively kind of helping people as they would come to me, but I wasn't doing any outreach. I wasn't really improving my skills at all, and I really stopped believing in that kind of, not the model, but the service I was offering. So I came across somebody on YouTube, Jaime Higuera, and he was always talking about e-commerce marketing agencies over SMMA. I think like one of the first videos I saw was the new SMMA is EMA, which is e-commerce marketing agencies. And he kind of just went over why this business model is so much more beneficial for us because, e-commerce brands are dominating the space now. They're everywhere. They need our help. They believe in, paid ads. They know the importance of marketing online. And, their budgets are a lot higher and the profit margins are a lot better. So when I saw his YouTube videos, I really kind of just dove into that. And at the time, I was living in the Midwest, pretty much like completely by myself without friends because my girlfriend, she was in the Air Force. So I was in this state in the United States, right in the middle, Missouri, and I had nothing really to do. So I just went all in finally, which was really the biggest shift for me was learning how to go all in on it and not trying to do 100 things at once because that's probably one of my biggest weaknesses. So once I was able to understand that this is a real opportunity and this is how things are shifting and I need to get into it before the trends, you kind of get outdated or whatever, I really was able to focus because I had no friends out there. Nobody was inviting me to parties. I was literally just waiting for my girlfriend to get home from her shift at the Air Force and just, going on runs, exercising and working on my agency. So
I think that's a key thing that, the same with me, like all my other businesses, I've had different businesses in the past and they've been all media. I guess my previous events company was, I guess, fairly successful as a side business, but a lot of the other ones sort of failed just because I wasn't putting that one focus on that one thing I was doing, trying to do, one day I'd be doing eBay drop shipping, the next day I'm doing Amazon FBA, and that's, I think, where I think having that focus and just putting your time into one thing and slowly growing rather than not expecting results overnight, I think that does make a massive difference. And then if we talk a bit, so as you said, you learned from, I guess, YouTube, which is where I learned so much from. But I guess I think you mentioned maybe to me on the call yesterday, you've paid for mentorship before, have you? Or
yes, I eventually bought a mentorship from Jaime. So that was a really big point in my agency career. And that really helped me a lot, actually.
And there's a lot of, I guess, controversy about courses, mentorship, all this sort of stuff, which I think if you get the right one, it's definitely worth the time and money. Do you think, I guess, well, for you now, you have been a bit of a success story from that, but would you advise people to do that? Or I always say look at the free value first on YouTube and then maybe down the line look into it a little bit further. And, when you've maybe built up a little bit of capital from your first few clients, maybe then look to take it to the next level.
I completely am an advocate for courses. I mean, you have to do your due diligence. Like you have to make sure that this person has a good course. Maybe do some research on it before just buying somebody's random course for $500. So you have to do your own research. And I think the people that really complain about the pricing of courses and mentorships and stuff like that, I don't really think that. I mean, most of the people that are doing SMMA, like we're already broke. Like I was broke. I was serving tables. I was putting all my money into courses, into books, into experiences that were going to better me. Like I think that people need to really invest in themselves because, if you're worrying about $500, like, oh, I wasted $500, like courses are a scam. I'm done with courses. It's like, I mean, you were broke to begin with. Like you wasted $500, but either way, you're still at zero. Like whether it's $500 or zero, like you're still broke. So I don't think those little tiny investments are really going to make a huge difference in your financial situation. I think you have to really take it for what it's worth. Try to learn as much as you can from it, even if it's just a few things. Like, people buy books just to get a little chunk of information. So same thing with the courses. Don't expect the course or even a mentorship to really take you from $0 to $10,000 a month because it's really you at the end of the day. And I would also say invest in yourself and the skills that are required to have an agency before investing in, the information that you need to understand to start an agency. Like, for example, if you've never done sales and you can't even talk to somebody like face to face. If you guys are out, eating dinner and you get nervous just talking, at the table, like I once did, um, you should be focusing on that. You should be focusing on, how well of a speaker you are and how persuasive you are, and the kind of influence that you have on people before, just being somebody with no prior skills and just saying, okay, I'm gonna buy this course, and for $500 it's gonna turn me into Iman Gotzi, or however you pronounce his last name, or Andrew Tate. Like that's not how it works. So
I think the thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, continue. I shouldn't have.
No,
I think
go
the thing
ahead.
is that people buy them and then straight away say they're a scam because they're not making millions overnight. But it's
Yeah.
the same, you're just investing in information that the responsibility comes down to you at the end to implement this information. And,
Right.
not everything you learn from a course is going to, I guess, be exactly what happens in real life. You have to just use your own intuition and, put that into practice in real world situations. And people are quite happy to spend money on, I don't know what it is in the US, but in the UK, it's about £9,000 a year for uni. I personally didn't go because, the only thing I'd be interested in is business. And,
Right.
why not just start a business? They're teaching you how to get a business job rather than how to actually start a business. But if people are willing to invest money in things like this, I think it's definitely worth investing in a business which, could potentially, lead to total financial freedom, happiness, down the line. But as you said, it's all about implementing it and not expecting, you have to do the work yourself. That's what it comes down to. But if we go back to talking a little bit about the business, so you've sort of just taken that switch in your story. You've gone from doing the social media management. Were you working at this time or purely doing this? And did you then sort of sack off all these smaller clients and then just go all in, or what was sort of the process?
I mean, when I had the management company, there was really no time where I had a large amount of clients. So the transition was pretty easy for me. I was working though. I mean, I was working before the pandemic hit. Once the pandemic hit, all the restaurants closed in the United States and I was laid off. So um, I had a lot of time at home. So I was essentially just working for myself now and trying to make certain things work. Excuse me. Um, when I moved to Missouri and I really made that transition, I still wasn't working because, now I moved from California to Missouri and there's even less jobs that were available. So I really had to, try to make it work. So I wasn't working another job at the time.
Yeah.
But prior to that, when I had, my social media management company, I was working in restaurants.
And then how do you, if we talk now very specific questions, so you've made that decision, you've started learning the information. So what would you advise people? What's that very first step in terms of outreach, in terms of, getting a website up and running, all them sort of first steps? So if someone was now coming to you blank, what would your first piece of advice be to them?
I would say to make sure that you're confident in yourself first before, doing this, because this agency is going to be a huge reflection of yourself at the end of the day. And you need to make sure that you are ready. Like, are you able to plan your day? Are you able to control your thoughts and your moods? Are you able to say no to certain things, like going out with your friends on the weekend? Otherwise, you're going to have very sporadic strides of progress. You're going to make some progress and then it's going to die because you went to Las Vegas for the weekend with your boys and now you're depressed because you were drunk all weekend, and now you can't even run your agency for the next week. And I'm saying that because that is kind of what I did a lot of the times. Was I'd make some progress, I'd fuck off, and that was because of who I was and my character and the things that I hadn't worked on yet. So I would say definitely work on yourself and then really just figure out. I mean, there's a lot of free resources, but figure out how to set up your agency in a very professional way that is going to win the clients over before you even, make a call. If you're trying to run an agency like 95% of the other agency owners out there, and, you're sending out the same terrible copy over cold emails, you're not going to have any success. Like I get a lot of, I have an e-commerce brand and I have a YouTube, and then I have my agency and I get messages from different agencies all the time. And it's kind of funny because it gives me so much confidence for my agency because I see this copy coming in and it's like terrible. I had the other day I had somebody say he was a copy expert and he wants to help me with, copy, and how it's going to help my business. And I read the copy, and it was like really bad. Like the commas were in the wrong spots. The use of vocabulary wasn't that great. Like the structure of the email was redundant. So people say just jump into it. That's true, but you're going to waste a lot of time like doing things wrong because you have like a false sense of progress where you're like doing stuff, but you're doing it wrong, but you're rewarding yourself and you feel good because at least you're doing it. But it would be a lot better if you just really like were honest with yourself for a little bit and kind of dissected your agency and how the systems are set up and then compare them to very successful agencies and kind of see what kind of changes you can make because I ran a very unsuccessful agency for multiple years, and I wish I just found that mentor at the start of it and took it seriously at the start of it and didn't try to divide my focus into so many things. So if you're going to do this agency and you want to start, you have to take it seriously, just like anything that you want to be great at, because if you're striving for an okay, good agency that's a decent side hustle, it's probably going to fail. You need to really go hard with this and really set it up thoroughly.
I think that's what the same. I get a lot of messages, I guess, from, I know I'm fairly small, but I've got a TikTok, YouTube, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, I'm not getting replies. I'm messaging people on Instagram, all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And I'm not saying that doesn't work, but I think you have to come across as from the very start, the first email or the first point of contact has to be very professional. Like I would invest in a good website. I'd invest in, just so you look authentic and you look like, if you look like a teenager who's, randomly messaging people, not very good copy, you're not going to get the results of, you're not going to get big clients trusting you when there is big agencies out there, and
Right.
where they can go with them. You have to show that you have to always be presenting yourself in a positive way, so you give them no reason to either not reply to you or doubt you to start with, doubt that you don't know what you're doing, or all that sort of stuff. It always has to be I guess presenting that sort of image. So in terms of, you've decided this move and you've decided you're going to take this seriously now, and you've got everything sorted. I guess you've probably got a website, all them sort of things up and running. In terms of actually first, what niche, how do you pick a niche, and then how do you actually source leads and decide how to contact them to start with?
Yeah. So that's a lot of people trip over the niche, deciding on the niche and you need to just kind of think about what you enjoy, really. I mean, obviously it has to be something that makes sense as well, but for me, the majority of my clients are all in, music production or studio production, or audio, right? Because growing up I really enjoyed music. I liked creating music. I spent a lot of time researching the best brands and creating studios for myself and for friends. So that's what I was good at. I knew those products. So if there's something like that you're already kind of invested in, maybe it's video games. Like maybe you play a lot of video games. So why don't you try to get into that space where you sell gaming chairs or you sell, the I don't know if it's Turtle Beach headphones anymore, but the gaming headsets and stuff like that. And obviously I recommend going into the e-commerce space, but that's a very big and broad niche. So you need to go a little bit deeper than that. Like I said, even if I were to just go into music, that's so broad. Like I try to go into more specific niches, like noise canceling headphones that you would use in a studio, instead of like something like Skull Candies, like just headphones that you would wear. Kind of really refining that niche down to a very specific part of a larger niche. For example, every headphone company that I work with is something that an audiophile, so somebody who really enjoys music or understands music or sound, would purchase. And because I'm able to relate with my prospects, it's more likely that I'm able to close them. So I would do that. But you also don't, if you don't have something like that you're passionate about, don't spend too much time with it. Like maybe just try a lot of different areas and see what the market gives you and go from there.
And then in terms of, you've picked that niche, and I guess this is really pivotal information because I'm very much at a very similar stage than you. Sort of 2 years ago, I've
Yeah.
got a lot of local businesses. I've got a few e-commerce brands, but
Yeah.
the majority is local businesses, and I'm wanting to sort of also take that leap. So say I've picked a niche. What was that first step in sort of getting leads, or all that sort of stuff? Did you do it personally, or
Mm-hmm.
what was that first step in getting that first set of leads to get going?
So at the start of it, I didn't really have any email automation yet. I didn't know about it. The most effective method that I started with were video audits. So kind of reaching out to prospects that I wanted to work with that I already qualified. I made sure they were either running paid ads that weren't so good or not running paid ads at well. I mean, running paid ads at all. And I would reach out with so many kinds of traditional methods, whether that was calling them and trying to get an email. At the time I didn't know about tools like Snob.io or anything like that, where you could find decision makers' emails. So I was actually calling in, asking for the owner, asking for their email, asking for their contact, then following up, sending them Facebook Messenger emails, Instagram DMs, cold emails, all of this. And I was really just trying. I wasn't even trying to sell the discovery call or the meeting. I was just trying to send them over a video audit that kind of dissected their marketing plan and gave them a few suggestions. So I would reach out to them and say, hey, I really like your brand. I love your headphones. I use them in my studio, X, Y, and Z. I have this video audit that I prepared for you about your marketing strategy. I think it's very useful and it might help you out. So can I send it over to you? And I would follow up with all those different outreach methods to get a response from them. And if I got a response from them, I would create a video audit, send it out to them. I would use Loom. And yeah, they really appreciated that it was personalized and I took that extra step. The only downside of that is I spent weeks and weeks before I even got my first discovery call of just, making these video audits that were very time consuming. So yeah, that's how I really started.
So
first.
then, I guess now you've sort of moved away from that, and I know you still say you do send over Loom videos and all that side of things, but you've moved to more automate that process and automate them meeting bookings, haven't you?
Yeah.
So if you just to explain sort of a little bit how you've gone to do this, because I think from speaking to you, this is a very automated process now where your main role is just to turn up for the meeting and I guess do that side of things. You've managed to automate that, I guess, which is the outreach side, which is by far the most time consuming stuff, especially at the start.
Yeah. So once you start getting clients, the automation aspect really is more effective. Before you start, I would say really try to do these traditional methods or more hands-on methods. No worries. But yeah, I mean, sorry, what was the question again?
We're just talking about email automation and the automated process of, I guess, generating these initial discovery call meetings.
Yeah, so I mean, I really focused on the video audits for a good while until I really understood how to, construct really good copy, how to talk to these clients. I got a few discovery calls, closed my first client before I even started doing any automation. But as of now, for the dream clients, for the people that I really want to pursue, I still use those, traditional methods. I'm still spending a lot of time, like really trying to get in front of them, trying to provide value, and then trying to get on a call with them, and then eventually sell my service or my offer to them. The automation runs kind of in the background as something to just, fill up your pipeline and keep leads being qualified while you sleep. A lot of people say like it's going to book calls for you while you sleep and it's going to fill up your calendar, and it does. But what it really does is qualify leads. It shows you who's interested in you because you're going to send them a sequence of 5 emails, and it's going to be personalized to that niche. And you're going to just see who opens and responds to your emails, who clicks on your link, who considers a discovery call, and then, in the best case scenario, who actually books a discovery call or a meeting with you. But yeah, I think there might be a little glorification of the automation side of things, where people say, or at least this is what I thought when I first heard of the system, was that it was just going to book you calls and you didn't have to do anything. But that's not very true. I would say it automates a good majority of it, but you still have to do the organic outreach. You're not going to just be able to sit back all day and just get on calls. That's not really how it works, or at least it's not how it works for me at the stage that I'm at. I mean, obviously, if you're bigger, like somebody like Iman or Jaime, they have so much traffic from different sources that are going to book calls for their education company and for their agency. So, yeah.
I think at that stage that they've got such a big social profile. I mean, they probably don't really have to do, they can, I bet they get a lot of people approaching them, so that they're not having to do that, outreach. But I think that's a key thing. I think it probably is over glorified. I mean, all mine so far have been from sort of traditional methods, because I think you can't beat that personalized approach. And I would also say what I've found so far is that there's no point trying to pursue something if they're not really initially sort of responding to you. They're probably not interested, and there's no point wasting your time with meetings and putting more of your time in something that's potentially not going to ever come off, regardless of what you say. They just don't see the value in that. So it's definitely, as you said, I still think them traditional methods are, putting the time and work in to start with, just showing that extra effort definitely helps them. And then in terms of, I guess, in your sort of the scripts you're using, obviously you don't have to give these away, because I'm sure they're quite valuable, but what sort of things would you be saying in that? Because I always say, never try to sell your services, never go into too much depth, just provide upfront free value, and sort of, as you said, with the video audits, or offer to maybe, I've offered to make a few bits of free content, or just some free advice on, a bit of an audit of their social media pages, all that side of things, because, they've got no reason to take that meeting. So I always try and provide some level of, upfront value. But what sort of scripts are you using?
So for the automation, for like Lemlist and the automated sales funnel, the first email is kind of just like hey, and then you let them know that you've seen their brand. So, hey, I love your noise canceling headphones. I am using them right now while I do homework, and I wanted to reach out to you because I saw a little bit of a flaw in your marketing strategy. And like you said, you're not trying to sell the service, so you shouldn't really dive into it too much. You just want to get on a call to see if they're interested at all. In the next following sequences or the emails, what you want to do is offer that video audit. And in the video audit, you could dive a little bit deeper into the marketing side of things and your offer and what you guys do, and the kind of results that you get for your clients. But constructing a very long message, especially on cold email, doesn't really convert very well. So you're really just, like you said, trying to get them to book that call. And ultimately, even then, when they're on the call, it doesn't mean that you have to hit them with your offer. It's kind of still to see and qualify if they're even in a position to bring you on board as somebody in their marketing system. And it's also an opportunity to see, if they could afford this, or if they have a budget for this that would actually make you money, because you will get to a certain point where you turn clients down too, because it's like, this is going to be a waste of time for me, because you guys don't have a budget. Maybe the energy was bad on the call, and you don't want to work for somebody. Maybe he or she was condescending. So yeah.
I think that's key, and I'm probably at that stage where I guess it's getting to that point where it wouldn't be worth, if they're saying, oh, I've got a very limited budget, is it really worth you really trying to sell that, put a lot of your time into it, when you could be, I'm really at that pivotal point, which I think is why this call is so helpful, at just sort of now moving towards the e-commerce brands, moving towards that and looking to win them sort of bigger clients. As you've said, so if we go into sort of, you've managed to secure them meetings, I think it's the most important thing is definitely just connecting with people on a person to person basis. But
Yeah.
what's going on in them calls, and what is your offer? I know you mentioned to me yesterday you structure a lot of your offers based on a percentage of ROAS. So if you want to maybe explain this a bit further for people.
Yeah. What was the first question again? Sorry. I got
Sorry,
the
just
last one.
in terms of once you're in that first initial meeting, what's being said, and what's the back and forth, and then in terms of
Yeah.
actually, say they are interested, how would you structure that offer to going forward?
So my sales process for that first discovery call is, like I said, I'm just trying to qualify them. I'm just trying to see if it would make sense mathematically for me to come in and give you my offer. Like I said, if they can't afford it, there's no reason for me to even go into the offer. So sometimes, within 5-10 minutes, we're out of the call because I already know it's not a winner. So my sales process isn't very, pushy. I know how to handle objections, but I'm really trying to be somebody to provide value still. On that discovery call, I'm still trying to provide value. I'm still trying to show them that I just want to help them, and there's some things that I could help with if I could qualify them, if the partnership would make sense. So you're not really going into that discovery call like trying to push and trying to sell and trying to shove your service down their throat. Then how I structure the service if they are qualified, a lot of people take them from that discovery call into the strategy session or the next call, because a lot of the times you have to construct an offer. Every offer is different depending on multiple variables, depending on the ad spend, depending on their profit margins and the best sellers that they sell. So a lot of the times I won't even close them on that first call. A lot of the times it will be like, hey, like I need to construct a realistic offer because you, from my experience, you don't want to be like, yo, give me $1,500 right off the bat, because you haven't even really done enough research or seen if it would make sense. So if you could kind of take your time with it and try to construct a realistic offer that benefits both of you guys, then that's when you're really going to sell them. Whereas if you're like ready with pricing and you're like, yeah, package A is 1,000, package B is 2,000, package C is 3,000, it's kind of like, why though? Like the prospect's going to be like, you didn't even ask me what I needed or like what my pain points were. You don't even have a solution clearly constructed for me yet. So how are you going to put a price on it? And you could actually lose a lot of clients from doing this, from having like set pricing. A lot of agencies will, even on their website, have set pricing, and I think that's completely wrong.
And you can end up, I guess, underpricing yourself as well in them situations where, a month down the line, you realize that this wasn't really worth it for me. So
Yes.
definitely that makes sense. But in terms of, the structure of the deal, you talked about, I guess, for anyone that doesn't know what, I guess, ROAS is, I guess if you could explain this and then also talk about sort of, them deals where, I guess, the key deals that you're looking to do now where you structure getting a percentage of them on top of your monthly, I guess, retainer.
Yeah, so I always go into my sales strategy with, I have the base fee. My base fee right now is I don't do anything under 1250. So if they can't afford to have 1250, pay us and then also pay for the ad spend, and then it makes sense where there's still profit at the end of the month, then that's really how I disqualify. I need that base fee, and on top of that, I want to get a percentage of the return on ad spend that is gonna essentially make that client for me anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 as a whole as a client. $2,500 is good too, but I don't really want to now in this stage work with any kind of client that is only gonna bring me $1,000 or $1,500 a month. It's really hard to scale that way. So if you incorporate this kind of aspect into your deals, where you're taking a percentage of the return on ad spend, you're going to be able to make more monthly, obviously, but you're going to be able to scale to that 10 and 20,000 price point a lot faster. And a lot of these companies will start negotiating with you right when you start doing numbers and stuff. So a good way to negotiate is you have a higher base fee. So like maybe you're like, I don't do anything for over or under $2,000, and maybe they're like, well, I don't want to spend that much. Okay, well, we could go down to 1,300, but I'm going to have to take a percentage of the ad spend. And this really kind of makes your value seem very legitimate, because if you start off at $2,000, right, and they're like, okay, I can only afford 1,000, you're like, whatever, let's do 1,000, without incorporating any return on ad spend or performance incentive fees. They're going to think, as the business owner, you were never worth that $2,000 to begin with. So like, if you took 1,000 right after you said 2,000, then I can't even believe that your service was ever worth 2,000. Therefore, you're kind of bullshit, right? So having the performance incentive fee is going to really give you provide value for the client, and it's going to really help you scale towards 10 and 20,000 a month.
That makes sense. Just out of an interest for me, what sort of budget? I guess it is different for every client, but the sort of clients you're working with now, what is their typical monthly sort of ad spend? What are they looking to, put into this? What are the size of these sort of businesses?
So my two largest clients, they're actually like sister companies of another very big music industry. They're kind of like the two sister brands that they have. And that is a majority of my income, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But between the two of those clients, they spend about $75,000 a month with me. So if you have a percentage of ad spend, if you take a percentage, then you could see like how it is very easy to grow. You just have to close these kinds of deals. I wouldn't really go after those kind of clients right off the bat. You need some experience for sure, but that's a very big budget. That's definitely not my minimum requirement. But if a company is trying to only spend $1,000 a month, there's ways where you could still incorporate them as, a client of yours, by saying, okay, let's start with 1,000 just for testing. But then as we progress, we're going to have to keep increasing the budget. And if you're not ready to increase the budget, then we're going to have to end this partnership. But as long as you're getting the results and there's a lot of profit from your campaigns, they will be more inclined to, up that ad budget. But really, the sweet spot for me is they have to be able to spend at least $10,000 a month in ads, because that really kind of shows me that they're serious. Excuse me. They're serious and they're ambitious, and they really want to get to that next level with, their company.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even me hearing this, because obviously, as I say, the sort of size of clients I'm working with at the moment, it is crazy. And I guess that there is that certain level of responsibility when they're willing to, spend this sort of money.
Right.
You do have to have a level of confidence in, I guess, your own abilities and your team's ability to perform for this, because that's a lot of money, especially 75 grand. You have to be getting them some sort of results for that, or
Right.
it's so I guess it's the responsibility that comes with that. That's why you are on the bigger fees. But then if we just move sort of, so you've landed them, and then if we just talk about the fulfillment of the service, like I'm sure you're a very, very knowledgeable person. But if we talk about now the media buyers and the sort of the fulfillment of that service, if you just talk about how you sort of got that up and running and how that works for your business.
Yeah. So like I said, a media buyer is very important. I mean, if they're going to be handling budgets of, over $100,000 a month between all your clients, they're going to have to be very good at what they do. And there's a lot of good media buyers out there. So I would not settle with your media buyer at all. There's a huge difference between a good media buyer and a great media buyer. And I 100% believe that you need a great media buyer to handle these budgets. So,
So I guess for me to start with, if anyone doesn't know, a media buyer is someone who's an expert at, I guess, the service you're offering. So whether that be Facebook ads, etc. So this is a question I had for you actually yesterday. But if you talk about when you're first starting out, you don't have like huge levels of capital to hire someone on your team for huge amounts of money. How did you go about acquiring that media buyer who performs these sort of services for you?
Yeah, so you could actually structure the deals. A lot of people go to Fiverr and Upwork, and I don't really suggest doing that, because they can't really do any deals off of Fiverr or Upwork unless you find somebody who's willing to message you on WhatsApp or something like that. But a lot of the times they won't. So I would recommend you find somebody on LinkedIn, and you find somebody who has paid ads or media buying in their skills. All you got to do is use the search bar, and interview a lot of the people that call themselves media buyers, and really be diligent with it. Maybe do like a 3-step interview process. Create some kind of Google form where they could apply for the position, and they'll give you a little bit of feedback about their, prior, skills and experience, and interview them and really see who you mesh with, and see who has really good results. Um, Obviously, find people that could show you their ads library. Don't just take screenshots, because a lot of these people have screenshots that are just fake, or they found in a group or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think a lot of people would automatically go for that Upwork, Fiverr, and that really is a key thing. So you've interviewed them, and obviously the performance of your business relies on these people. So it's a huge thing. The communication needs to be spot on, and
Right.
you need to really have that level of trust with them. So that's something that I think a lot of people don't. Maybe they're too focused on winning the clients, but I think first you need to make
Yeah.
sure you can actually deliver. But yeah, that's really key. And have you found, with the clients that you've won, is your retention rate of these clients quite high, or you?
Yeah, I mean, we retain for about 10 months on average right now. But yeah, that's a really good selling point. If you could tell, a future prospect that, I retain my clients for 10 to 15 months on average, that is a very important factor. But yeah, 10 months.
I think that's also valuable. So I think that's probably it on the specifics. Now, if we just moved, for sort of the final sort of 10-15 minutes and talk a bit more about general stuff. So what do you think you see your goals as going forward? I know you, like, similar to me, you want to build a bit of a social, I guess, presence, and sort of go eventually down the line into doing a bit of mentoring and helping people out get going. But what do you see the next sort of 5-10 years looking like for you?
Yeah, like you said, I want to try to build some kind of personal brand where, I could give back and teach, maybe create a course, do some kind of mentorship, and yeah, maybe dive into a few different e-commerce brands, maybe do some startups in the music industry and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I still love doing music, and I want to be able to, fund my passion of making music. And I think that eventually I'll be able to do that. I also want to get into some real estate. Um, I want to travel a lot. I really like Bali. We just came back from Bali about 2 months ago or so. And I think that there's a lot of potential out there for, buying real estate, and cash flowing it, and eventually selling it. So I want to definitely do that as
I
well.
think, yeah, that's definitely sort of travel is a massive thing. Me and my
Yeah.
girlfriend the same. Next year we're going to be, hopefully when I've got this business up and running a bit further, it's totally
Hmm.
digital.
Yeah.
Moving out to Southeast Asia for a couple of months
Yeah.
doing that. And I think Bali, I don't know if you've seen. Have you watched Lost LeBlanc? He's like a travel vlogger, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
literally just building a villa out there in Bali, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of the people actually rent in Bali. I think it's very rare that you actually buy your own land and property.
Right.
But yeah, I've very similar goals. And
Yeah.
then in terms of sort of your personal life, I guess you've got a girlfriend and all that side. What are your other investments and, I guess, interests out of the business?
Right now, it's mostly, as far as, investments, is mostly my agency. I don't mess around with, I don't mess around with Bitcoin. I don't mess around. I never invested in NFTs. Um, Not yet, at least, because I need to be an expert to do it, and I'm totally not an expert. So I never invested in any of that. I really just try to invest in myself and my skills and my business. As far as things that I like to do, I mean, I try to really stay here and work as much as I can. I try not to go out a lot. I haven't drank in, like, I don't know, 3-4 months now. I'm really just trying to be locked in, but I like to go for runs. I like to ride bikes. I love the beach. Bali was amazing, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I do.
that sounds great. I don't know if I can hear you very clearly, but I can just see the sound bar on the side, so it might be that you
Yeah.
just need to move a little
Oh, my
forward.
bad.
Uh, hopefully it was absolutely fine. I can hear you absolutely fine, but I just can
Okay.
see the sound bar on the side was like quite low for that bit. But yeah, I really really want to go out to Bali. It's
Yeah.
I've not been to Southeast Asia, but it
Hmm.
looks amazing. I really enjoyed coming over to America. I went earlier
Yeah.
this year to New
I
York and
saw that.
stuff. It was great. So if we just talk about so your investments at the moment, you're earning that 25 grand a month. What are you doing with it? How are you spending it? Do you save it? What are you looking to do with that?
I really save it right now because like I said, I want to buy property in Bali, and my goal is in March, once summer starts, I'm gonna move out there for a few months and kind of, find some land, hopefully. I'm looking at two places. Canggu obviously is like the most up and coming, but
Yeah,
it's already developed pretty well. I would say I saw a lot of potential in Uluwatu as well, which is like a more surfer dominant area, but it's also up and coming. But I could see that as a more like luxurious and more laid back vibe. So, um, yeah, I really want to save up a lot of money and just go out there and purchase some land and maybe start a project. And I did see that YouTube video of Las Blanc where he was doing the villas and stuff, and that actually
yeah,
really
no.
inspired me.
I know I've watched him for a while and very similar. I know he does most of his business is content, but he was working as an accountant, very similar to me, and it is crazy
Yeah,
the lifestyle he's living now, and I guess they're just the
amazing.
opportunities that have come from, I guess,
Yeah.
social media. But if we just, I'll ask you one sort of another a bit off the topic question, but
Mhm.
I know it's very controversial at the moment. But what are your opinions on, I guess, internet gurus, Andrew Tate, all that sort of stuff? What is your opinions on them?
Um, so with Andrew Tate, like I agree with a lot of the things that Andrew Tate says. I mean, obviously there's just some very extreme views, and I think, if anybody ever has any extreme views, then they're usually a little bit controversial and maybe incorrect. But I mean, that's obviously just strategy, I think. But he seems like a very smart, intellectual man, and he's obviously a really great speaker, and he could influence people very well. So I think what he's doing is very strategic, very smart. I don't really get offended by much, and I think that you know, I think that the place that we were in before Andrew Tate surfaced or reached most of his fame, I think that we were kind of in an area that needed somebody like him, honestly. And it's kind of good that somebody not stood up against certain things, but gave us a different perspective. Where I think a lot of males sometimes they have this ferocious energy or like this killer instinct in them that sometimes they have to withdraw or you know kind of tone down a bit. And as long as you're peaceful and loving and you're a kind human being, I think that that is actually a gift. And sometimes you just need to embrace that and learn how to maybe redirect that energy, obviously not in an aggressive way or anything, but use that to your ability, because at the end of the day, that's our gift, like our male energy. And obviously don't go too extreme with it, but I think that he provides a lot of value to young men and even the feminine energy aspect as well.
I mean, he is definitely like a master at marketing and getting himself out there. And the way he articulates himself is
Yeah.
is very hard to argue with his points because he does have an answer for everything, and it's a very thought out.
Yeah.
With examples, it is hard to disagree with some of
Right.
the stuff he's saying. I think he's on that spectrum of some of the stuff is getting a little extreme, but
Yeah.
he's definitely the way he's managed to over the last sort of 6 months just dominate. You go on TikTok, every single video is him, which
Right.
is obviously through the sort of method of affiliate marketing. And I think now it's just got to the point where it's not even that anymore, isn't it? It's just he's got such a huge fan base out there.
Right. And
So
they're
in terms
loyal
of
too.
exactly, yeah, in terms of your goals, in terms of as I said in this video, I'll link down all your Instagram, your YouTube. As I say, I watched some of your YouTube videos. You're still like me, just getting going,
Yeah.
but there is a lot of value in that. I'll link all that in the description. But what
Thank
do you
you.
see sort of the content being for going forward for you?
I just kind of try to model, honestly, the people that I learned from, and I just kind of want to recreate that with my own kind of vibe and my own perspective and provide as much value as I can, because, obviously there's some financial benefits of doing it, but also it's kind of just like a good space to be in. It's kind of one of those things that make you kind of feel good when you could help somebody without, charging them anything. For instance, in my Discord, I offer, free mentorship and free group calls, and it like honestly does feel good when a random person reaches out to you and says, "Hey, like I watched your YouTube video and you really, helped me, and now I'm pursuing this," or "I booked my first call, like it's because you showed me how to do this," and then they ask you for information. Like that feels good, and that kind of gives me a purpose a bit. So yeah,
I
I'm
think
really
that's yeah. Sorry,
no, go
as I
ahead.
say,
You're
that's
good.
exactly the same for me. I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely that financial motivation there because like it's such a growing market. I mean, it's so profitable, and just to be able to have interesting conversations like this and the opportunities it bring is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. But I
Yeah.
think a key thing is it's just enjoyment, isn't it? It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to, I guess, be teaching people, and at least give, as I say from this call, you're very much teaching me. I'm very much on that journey,
Thank you.
to where you are now. But it's been very, very valuable. And I guess just sort of, if we just sort of, this would be sort of the final few things. But what do you think, to you, what is that sort of like happiness? What is that sort of that life goal for you? What do you think the purpose of all this is for?
Yeah. I honestly, I really, really, really want to be able to just provide for the people that I love, but I also want to be able to live a life where I'm creating constantly. So with the agency, like, yeah, I'm creating, but I don't feel like there's too much creative aspect with it. So really, this is just a catalyst for other things for me. Um, Obviously, I get to create content and help people, and that's amazing. But you know, creating music is something that I think really makes me feel fulfilled. Or maybe it makes me feel a little more happy, and the agency makes me feel a more fulfilled emotion. But I really want to be able to travel the world, meet every single kind of person and within every single kind of culture, and I just want to learn from the other people on this planet, honestly, and just give back. Like I just want to know the stories that everybody, you know, all the stories that people could tell around the world, and have a really good understanding of the world. And I think if you could leave Earth at the end of the day, feeling grateful for the experiences that you had, I mean, that's really gonna trump any number in your bank account, really.
Yeah, exactly the same. Like realistically, it's at that day by day, just enjoying every single
Yeah.
day. And as I say, I mentioned, I don't know if you've listened to the Diary of a CEO podcast, but there's a few
Hmm.
episodes on there that are like life changing, really just
Yeah.
perspective on things. But I think it's just enjoying that every single day and the journey as you go along, rather than just looking for that constant. Because I'm very motivated, and it's
Right.
constantly looking forward to new things. Like, right, when I get to that level, when I get to that level. But I think it's just sort of reining that back and enjoying the daily process of
Mm-hmm.
every single day, making it count and just being satisfied. You're definitely gonna have good days and bad days, but it's just enjoying that journey. And how have you found in terms of I struggle with this, especially at the start, going from a job where you, I guess, meeting people every single day to, I guess, maybe the loneliness of running a business, the that side of things, the mental health aspect. Have you struggled with that yourself, or?
When I was younger, I mean, I'm really grateful for the experiences that I had growing up, because I had a very like, I wouldn't call it traumatic, but very emotionally manipulative upbringing that really made me very angry as a kid. Like I was getting in a lot of fights as a kid. I was constantly upset, but um, I'm just grateful that I kind of was able to face that adversity as a developing mind, I guess, and that kind of gave me the tools to handle it a little bit more now. Whereas I feel like sometimes people struggle because they didn't have too much adversity earlier in their childhood, where they really develop those kind of skills within the subconscious, that become kind of just like a response to certain things. Um, but yeah, I just I do meditate. I meditate probably 5 or 6 times a day, and that 5 or 6 times a day, 5 or 6 times a week,
Yeah.
and that really helps me know what like my peaceful places. I try to stay away from any negative energy, any energy that doesn't serve me. I'm very, I only hang out with a few people. Maybe I have one best friend. I see a few friends every now and then my girlfriend and my dog. But yeah, mental health, I mean, that's a very deep topic we could get into. But overall, I think the mental state that I'm in now, where I'm able to navigate through life with a clear mind, I think it's because of the experiences and the troubles that I had growing up, for sure.
Definitely, as you've touched on two things there, really. As I say, the first thing is, you know, just having that mindset and that clear mindset going forward. And as I say, a lot of people, you know, your upbringings definitely have such a huge impact on your future. But I think the thing is, it's not what happened to you, it's how you deal with that going forward. Because, you know, that you look at two people, they might have the exact same upbringing, you know, very hard upbringing, but then one might be successful and one not. And it's, I guess, how you deal with that yourself and tune that energy into your future. But this episode has definitely been very, very useful, especially, I guess, that middle section on you know, going very in depth into certain different things. And just a final question: what advice would you give to people, you know, coming up, they're wanting to get something up on the ground, they're maybe not feeling that satisfied? You know, I've definitely felt this for years, really, just wanting to finally get that business started or that freedom. What would you advise people?
I would say if you're going to do something, do it right. And if you are feeling like you don't have a purpose, just know that, like, that is okay. Like, these emotions and these moments in your life, they're just literally part of your story and your learning. So if you could perceive it as that, like, okay, I'm sad and I'm in a very terrible place, but I know that in a month from now, I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be fine because I'm going to get out of this. If you could have that kind of confidence in yourself, and then you could also perceive any roadblock as just a roadblock, something that's temporary, then you will be fine regardless of how you're feeling now. So I would say start your agency, start whatever thing you want to do, and just listen to yourself, because I think a lot of people try to tell people how to live, and there's so many ways to do it. You just have to really focus on who you are, be true to yourself, and I know it's cliche, but you just have to really go hard too.
Anyway, that we'll sort of end on that question, but it's been so valuable, I guess, for everyone watching and for myself. And I will, as I said, put all your links in the description. You know, you've just started a TikTok and YouTube, haven't you? And you know, I'll put all that below. You've got a Discord group going, and you do at the moment offer a little bit of mentorship for few people, don't you? Through your Discord group, I think.
Yeah. I do a paid mentorship right now, but I also do a free mentorship in my Discord with group calls every week.
So I'll link all that down below. So, you know, if you want to check out your stuff, that'll be appreciated. And I really appreciate you taking this call, because obviously for me, it's just turning 10 o'clock in the UK, but for you, you're 8 hours behind. So I guess you're doing this at what time is it? What time is it in the US?
It's almost 3 a.m. So there's like times where you would ask me a question and I would just like forget the whole question. I was like, where am I, bro?
Oh no, I appreciate you taking the time to stay up and do this. I'll cut it now so you can get some sleep. But I appreciate it. As I say, this will be on YouTube fairly soon. So likewise. I really appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on.